Well, the question is, all of this chaos, and all these manipulations, and all these diseases, and all of these wars, and all of this hunger, and all of this financial deficit, what solution is there? Do you think this is what our Creator is expecting us to have? To have such a bad time? What solution do you see? For us to have consciousness. A Kabbalah master of mine once told me that one can recognize the stature of a professional by the quality of their tools. Today, there are surgeons working in Washington, D.C., who can operate using robotics at a distance on patients in Madrid. And they direct the laparoscopy from there to here. That means these are doctors with very sophisticated tools. The more sophisticated the tools, the more you see their deep wisdom of their science. The science of the Kabbalah, the science that moves energies and transforms circumstances, must have very sophisticated tools to solve all these situations. And that is the story. We will have to use very sophisticated tools. Sometimes you go to a big hospital because the equipment at that hospital is the most modern in Europe, so to speak. And you measure it by the quality of the equipment. It's the same with Kabbalah. To move high-level energies, we need powerful tools. And which tools are those, Albert? There is no tool more powerful than Kabbalistic meditation. None exists. It is of a power we cannot imagine. The use of the Hebrew alphabet is tremendously powerful. And the celestial alphabet, I can't even begin to tell you. That's what we're going to do over the next months. We're going to use Hebrew letters combined in a wise way according to the Torah, and we will also use the celestial alphabet to increase our volume of action and capacity for action. But what I want to tell you is that the strength of the soul is much greater than the strength of the body. They're not even comparable. We have a strength that we do not know when we activate it. We activate it by Kabbalistic meditation. That's something we have to work on. And in all our classes, you'll see there's always a time devoted to meditation. Now, all the predictions announce war in June. All predictions. Because it's a war for oil. It's a war among countries of the Middle East against Western countries. We've already seen that we've been through 2 wars against Iraq and 1 against Afghanistan. Now, one is being prepared against Iran. It's being prepared. Many Western countries are on guard. War is being prepared. And war is fought with allies. The allies of Western countries are those of NATO. In other words, all of Europe. So we're involved. Then Canada, Israel, and on the other side, the countries of the Middle East, like Iran, then also North Korea, China, Russia. Therefore, powerful blocks fighting against each other. And war is horrifying. Many people die and suffer on both sides. And there's great pain, great pain. The question is, how can this be avoided? Can it be avoided? Yes, it can be. We hope so. Oh, we can. Yes. Okay, how? We'll have to work a lot. Yes, but how? By associating the letters. The letters have so much power. I discover that they are made from each other. The mim is kuf with vav. I discover things. They have amazing power. I see them. One points down, the other up. I see them. I look at them. I study them. I see them. Well, we must understand one thing. The letters are recipients of thought. And the combination of letters are recipients of more sophisticated thought. The letters are algorithms of thought. Algorithms of thought. And letters are algorithms of thought that are very complex. Every letter is a divine thought. Combining Hebrew letters is equivalent to a combination of divine thoughts that mobilizes astral forces, which are what create circumstances on earth. So, I'm going to tell you something that will be the subject of our meditation today. What is a war? Do you know what war is? We're not talking about political interests or policies or East versus West. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the spiritual level. Do you know what war is? What is the root of war? The economy. I'm not talking about the physical world. I'm talking about the spiritual world. Why can war be declared in the spiritual world? To have power. What power? Spiritual power? I'm talking about the spiritual, not physical world. They're not at all the same. The spiritual world does not need power. It already has it. Because the angels that represent each country have a confrontation among themselves. I'm looking for the cause, not the effect. To solve a problem, you have to go to the root of the problem. A massive adjustment of tikkunin. What? A massive adjustment of tikkunin. That's correct. There is a karma. There is a karma. A tikkunin. In Hebrew, karma is tikkun. So there is tikkun to be resolved. You have to adjust the tikkunin. If a person in a previous inquisition killed a victim, in this new incarnation, the victim becomes the executioner. And the executioner, the victim. They are adjustments. So, we're in a system of adjustments that's infinite. You killed me, I kill you. Then I have to be killed as a retaliation in a later life. You stole from me, so I steal from you. And in a later life, I will retaliate stealing from you again. So we're in an infinite cycle, and global karma adjustments are configured this way. In a war that was fought long ago, with hundreds of thousands of deaths and hundreds of thousands of killers, in this new scenario, it has to be inverted. Then, the children of victims will be executioners, and so on, and will never finish. That's what wars are. Adjustments of karma. How can war be avoided? We're getting closer. We're getting closer. Tell me. Who has a great idea about how to avoid war in the spiritual world? If you can avoid it in the spiritual world, it won't take place in the physical world. Forgiving, and forgiving. By adjusting that karma in the spiritual world before it gets to this world. Yes, but how? How? The question is how to adjust the karmas. Because on earth, here they are adjusted by pain in the body. by feeding something that compensates that vacuum. For example, the prayer you pray at night before you go to sleep, where you forgive everyone for everything, that settles the accounts, doesn't it? So then there's no war. And then the US won't attack Iran, the UK won't attack Iran, and Iran won't respond by blockading the channels where the oil tankers have to go. Is that prayer going to stop all of that? No. It will continue. If the excuse is power, or defense, or oil, or keeping a country from having nuclear weapons, those are all excuses of the physical world. But in the celestial world, abstracting political and military matters, how is this resolved in the spiritual world? It is a great question. Like Yaakov did with his brother in Pilah before meeting him, there was going to be a war. But since he intervened in the spiritual world, then when he faced his brother, there was no war. Very good. You're very close to the answer now. That's not the answer, but you're very close. Indeed, Yaakov and Esav were two brothers. Esav swore to kill his brother Yaakov for taking away his birthright. And Yaakov fought the angel of Esav in a dream. He was wounded in the leg, but he overcame the angel. And when he overcame the angel of Esav, and then Esav met Yaakov face to face, Esav no longer wanted to kill his brother Yaakov. Why not? Because the conflict had been solved in the spiritual world. So, if we had to transfer this to a worldwide conflict, a World War III, then all human beings would have to be fighting the guardian angels of all human beings who were going to enter the conflict on the other side. In other words, the spiritual guides of all Russians would have to be fighting and settling accounts with the spiritual guides of the Americans and the Chinese, with all those of the UK and the West, and the spiritual guides running around, adjusting karma with all the others in mass meetings. We'll be talking about billions of spiritual guides fighting billions of other spiritual guides in the celestial world, so that here below we get the idea not to fight and to back down. But, indeed, the Torah gives us clues. Indeed, the Torah gives us clues. But the result of that battle between the angel representing Esav and that representing Yaakov, what really happened? He saw that he could not overcome Yaakov. And suddenly, it's interesting, and you have to understand what happened. The angel of Esav said, "Let me go. I must go, because the sun is about to come up." And if I'm not mistaken, he said it was the day on which he had to worship God. And Yaakov said, "Not until you give me a bracha." And he had to bless him. So it's not just the end of the struggle, but a blessing of the enemy of Yaakov. Okay, then we have the clue that in the spiritual world, something can be resolved. More than that, everything can be resolved. But how can you arrange it so that 1 billion spiritual guides of 1 billion humans settle their affairs with other billions? But they're not billions, it's just one. Esav's angel represented all of Esav's people. The spirit of that entire empire. It was like the war between David and Goliath in ancient times. The battles were between the leaders of each side. So I think that that's the same case here. It's not a war of billions. It's the guy that represents the essence of that people against the other guy that represents the essence of another people. So then, we should set up a conference of the spiritual UN with the spiritual guides of all the Chinese, all the Russians, all the Americans, all the Koreans, all the Iranians, all the Israelis, all the spiritual guides. A super conference in heaven for everyone to sit still. But there would be a fight. There would be a fight. There is already a fight. The question is, you can really rack your brains over this. Wouldn't it be a matter of finding the root, the single root, responsible for the division? The deep source of this. There must be one root. Yes, I will give you the root of all wars. Fear. No, I will explain the root of all wars. The root of all conflicts of humankind. The root of all divorces. The root of all abuses of men against men, or men against women, or women against men, of all history. I'll give you that root right now. But can you answer the question? I'll give you the root, but first you must solve the question. Let me tell you. Before coming to this world, we were a divine essence. With great freedom and a vision that has nothing to do with the vision we now have. We were very well-off beings, angels, souls. When entering our body, our soul has found a strait, something very narrow, because the body puts up a strait or imprisons the soul. And when the body imprisons the soul needs expansion because it feels constricted, like someone in a cage. The soul needs air. And its way of expanding, because it can't expand out of this body unless you kill yourself. As the soul can't expand itself in this body, it begins to look for a way out. And the way out can be called power. They think if they have power over someone else, their soul expands. The person thinks that if they have more wealth than someone else, their soul expands. The soul escapes the prison just a little bit. The person believes that if they can take something away from someone else, something that they don't have right now, their soul expands. That's what the person believes. And wars that are always a quest for power, or a quest to improve one's situation, or to conquer something, take it away from someone else. The wars give you the impression that your soul expands, but it doesn't expand because it's still constricted in the body. So it's all an illusion. All of this abuse of men against men, it's just a way of fooling yourself and believing that your soul is managing to expand, to escape from that prison. But people who seek unlimited power are no happier because their soul is still confined in their body. And yes, they've conquered. Yes, they have better bank accounts, better cars. But if you look inside them, they're just as bad as before. That means they have not resolved the problem. And don't believe that by conquering another country, the conquering country is happier. That's not true. Why not? Because the root problem has not been solved, and that is that the soul cannot expand. The soul only expands in meditation. Like we've had a man here who once said, I meditated and I didn't want to come back. Why not? Because he found a way out for his soul to expand. And when we come back to the reality of the constricted soul. That's the root. Now, how to stop wars? I've given you the root of the problem. The root. Well, the solution is easier said than done. Why is there conflict between men and women? if both are right in their way. The self-centeredness, that's the reason for nearly all fights between men and women. It's because I think I have the right to something that's yours. That's because you think your ego is expanding. Or call it what you like. When I eliminate myself as my own will, automatically it's like the old saying, it takes two to tango. Each of us has an opinion. Each of us are right in our way. But if I withdraw at some point, and I have no reason to fight then, why fight? If between peoples, well, it's a long story, but a lot of people say that if we could understand that the human essence is more, it's part of God. The great astronomers see it as part of the cosmos, that it goes beyond the little space we occupy on Earth. If we could understand that, we would no longer have countries, because all these artificial lines that someone drew somewhere and said, if I'm born on this side, I'm against someone from the other side. At the end of the day, it's all false. And the needs I have are also virtual needs. I don't really have those needs. I still don't have a solution. Simply that we have to educate people. Well, we're philosophizing very well, but we're not. Don't believe they won't attack Iran because of this philosophy. No, it won't be for the philosophy. But they are still going to attack Iran, and Iran will defend itself. And Iran will find its allies, and pain will begin. It will begin for both sides. There will be pain, death, suffering. That is inadmissible, because no one will be happier in the end. That's a lie. It's an illusion. Those wars don't make anyone happier. That's true. Both sides lose. Both sides suffer. How about you, Manuel? Well, as you say, by learning that each person's soul expands, by learning to meditate. And if people learn to meditate, we would abandon war because we would be expending our souls in meditation. And how do you adjust karmas? What? How do you adjust karmas? By meditating. The Torah gives us ideas for meditations to adjust karma, to make peace at another level. Okay. I think we've played enough. Let's give you the solution. There is a name of God that goes back to the root of what he said earlier. Yes, but we must understand what we're doing. I'm going to draw something you'll be very familiar with. What is this? The tree of life. What is this? The tree of life. The tree of life is divided into 4 worlds. What is this down here called? Asia. Asia. I hope I didn't make a mistake. Did I? No. Atzilut, Beriah, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. From the more spiritual to the more physical world. Okay. Well, I want you to know that this is the divine world. In the divine world, there is no duality. There is no duality. Because in order for there to be a war, there has to be 2 opposites. In the divine world, all is one. One. Shema Israel, Hashem Eloheinu, Hashem Echad. One. In the world Olam Ha Beriah to the world Olam Asiyah, there is duality. And where there is duality, there's conflict. So, karma is always something between 2. So where should I go to resolve karma? Wherever there is no duality. So I must elevate the karma from the physical world. I must take this karma, which is here, and go resolve it in a world with no duality, where all is one. And if I can resolve this karma in the Olam Ha Atzilut, in the world of emanation, the result is that down below, instead of division, there is union. The word union comes from one, and division comes from two. I must rise to a world without duality. Hebrew letters come from Bina. Bina belongs to the world where there is no duality. And the soul comes from Bina. There is no duality. Mem lamed che. What? Mem lamed che. Mem lamed che is to have the gift of prophecy. But there is a name of God, which is He Kuf Mem, which we will meditate on later. And that resolves karma in the world of unity. He Kuf Mem. And that is where we're going to elevate the karma of mankind. It will be resolved. Everything that is dual will be melded into one. And that one, when it comes back down, will be melded together. What is love? Between a man and a woman, love is two bodies that merge into one. And what is hate? Hate between a man and a woman is when two bodies separate from each other. They don't want to face each other. In other words, love is uniting, and hate, or the lack of love, is to break apart. And what is war? It is disunity. And where is the glue? In Olam Atzilut, in the world of unity. That is where we have to go find the super glue. That's why in a Jewish marriage
there is a chuppah. What is a chuppah?
It's a cloth canopy that symbolizes the divine presence of Atzilut. That is, where the glue that binds two opposites is. A Jewish wedding is between three: the man, the woman, and the divine presence. If you take away the divine presence between man and woman, love becomes a lack of love. That's all. And now, let's go back to the question. Can war be avoided? Yes, yes. But now you're saying it with other knowledge. Now you see it better, clearer, don't you? So, why are there wars? Because of a lack of love. Why is there a lack of love? Because there's no divine presence, no divine energy. Simply put, two elements that don't have divine energy to bind them fall apart. What's the love of a human being that joins their cells together and makes their body compact? It's their soul. The soul makes all the cells be composed. And if the soul leaves the body, what happens to the cells? They decompose. It's called the decomposition of the body. In other words, they separate. What does the soul do? It unites. When the person dies and the soul leaves their body, the body disunites. What's wrong with this world? It's missing soul. If it's missing soul, we must bring soul. And where does the soul come from? From the world of souls, from Bina. We have to go get it and bring a soul down to this world. If not, we're in the decomposition of cells. That is, separation and hatred among peoples. This is an anatomical law. A person dies, their body decomposes. I don't know of many people who have died whose body has not decomposed. That means that the soul is what holds everything together. And since the human body, the body of humanity, must have a soul, and if you take away the soul from the body of humanity, people separate. So, here we have the karma of wars. Love or lack of love. And so, the question is, what is the soul of humanity and where is it? That is a truly deep question. What is the soul of humanity? Do you agree that all of humanity forms a single body? Adam? Adam is a single body, and Adam is made up of two blocks. The Aleph, the letter Aleph of Adam, which represents the name of God. Aleph is the initial of
Alufo shel olam.
Sovereign of the world. It's also the initial of
Ehyeh.
name that God gave Moshe when Moshe asked him what his name was, and he answered, my name is.
Ehyeh.
His initial is Aleph. And Dam. Dam is blood. What does blood have? Unity. What unites it? Aleph. What do we have if we take away Aleph? Blood, disunity, spilt blood. Say that the Aleph has gone. We have to bring it back to the world. And today's shiur of the Zohar will tell us about Aleph. Let's begin the class. This whole preamble is for today's class. Today is March 11th, 2012, in the Yehiel Foundation. We're continuing with the secrets of the Zohar. We're still in Bereshit, in Genesis. And the Zohar tells us the following. In Ezekiel chapter 34, it says, you are called man. Who has the name of man?
The Torah.
When it refers to man, who is the man? And who is not man? There are human beings who are not described with the term man. Who is the human being that receives the term of man? Spiritual man is called man, and the pagan is not called man. Whoever worships false gods is not called man. Spiritual man, he who seeks where his soul is, he who seeks to free his soul, is called man. When the Torah speaks of saying to Adam, let's make a man, it means making a spiritual man. The souls of pagans are reincarnated in impure animals. The souls of men can be reincarnated, if there has been tikkun, in pure animals. And the Zohar tells us the following. It says to man, Kadosh Baruch Hu, our Creator, you will only see me from behind, because you cannot see my face. What does this mean? You will only see me from behind, and we cannot see HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why not? Because the Torah says, in lo guf, ve'en lo demut haguf. He does not have a body or anything that looks like a body. In other words, he is not visible. Yet, when the Zohar says, "You can only see me from behind," it's talking about the days of the week, because on Shabbat, you can see him from the front. To see what? Listen to what I'm going to tell you. The hand has a face and a back, a palm and a back. The palm of the hand is the reflection of the soul, and the back of the hand is the reflection of the body. The hand has two sides, the palm and the back. When it says, "You won't be able to see my face," that means that on the days of the week, you don't have the right to see your fingers in the palm of the hand. But on Shabbat, you do. And when Shabbat is over, and we do the ritual of Havdalah, lighting a candle because Saturday is over, we see the backs of our hands, not the inner side of the hands. That's what it means to say, "You will see me from behind." In other words, you will give me the closed part of the hand, not the open part. And there we see that when two people shake hands, they don't shake the backs of their hands, they shake the palms of the hands, bringing their souls together. Shaking hands is a very serious thing. Married men don't shake the hand of women who are not their spouses or daughters. Why not? Because they're giving their souls. That's one of the secrets of the dictionary of the Zohar. Seeing God's face, or from behind, is referring to the palm or the back of the hand. That is a great secret. Wait, if you have any questions, write them down. Then it says, how do I have access to the thoughts of God, of our Creator? When I refer to the Creator, I'm not referring to any intermediate force of this or any other dimension, terrestrial, extraterrestrial, angels. I'm talking about the Creator in the pure state. How can I have access to His thought? Zohar says that divine thought is inaccessible. But there is a part you can access. Which part? It's light? It's light? What light? The light that is hidden in a vessel. Divine thought is hidden in 22 vessels, which are the Hebrew letters. If we undress that vessel, or rather open it, a divine thought appears. And if we study the Hebrew letters, each of them, we will decode the divine thought that is hosted in that letter. In my book, the Book of Redemption, all 22 letters are explained. And now, the explanation of the first letter, the letter Aleph. Remember I said that Adam was Aleph Dam? Now we'll undress the letter that symbolizes the unity of God. We'll undress it so that divine thought appears in the letter. Let's see if we can do it correctly. Zohar Ha Kadosh tells us in Genesis, and Zohar is all of Hebrew mysticism and the Kabbalah. It is the Bible of Jewish mysticism. And we see that the Aleph is formed by 3 letters. I'll draw it for you. It's formed by a Yud, It's formed by a vav and by an upside down yud. I've separated it here. The yud, the upside down yud, and the vav. Here we see that if we add the three letters, the yud is equivalent to 10. 2 times 10 is 20, plus the vav, which is 6, so 26, which is
Yud He Vav He.
the name of God. What is the first yud? The first yud is the mystery of divine thought. What is the second upside down yud? And why is it upside down? Because it's the world of matter, and the world of matter works in the opposite way from divine thought. In divine thought, all the weight is in the soul and spirit, and the weight, the body, the upside down yud, all the weight is in the body. But we can make the upper yud come down to the lower yud. To do that, we need a hinge. What is the hinge? The vav. And this vav, this letter here in the middle, will make the yud come down from above and will place the divine spirit into the body. In other words, the unity will come down to where duality is. That is what vav will do. This vav is called Zeir Anpin. So, if we draw an aleph and we put a vowel with it, we will say ah. But if instead of saying ah, we study what aleph is, we will see how the world works, divine thought, the body, and how it travels from above to below. What is the vav? What is the vav? It is what makes yud come from above to below. It's a channel. The vav, if we spell it out, is written thus: vav, aleph, vav. Vav, aleph, vav, spelled out, is 6 plus 6, 12, and the aleph, which is equivalent to 1, 13. 13 is the word ahava, love. Ahava is equivalent to 13. Love is what will make divine thought come down to the body. If there is no love, the yud will not come down from above to below. We're undressing a letter. And yud, if we spell it out, we'll write it like this: Yud, Vav, Dalet. Yud. If we add them up, this one is equivalent to 10, and so are the rest. What does this mean? That the Yud is pregnant with Vav Dalet. And what is Vav Dalet? 10 as well. That means that Yud encompasses the entire tree of life, because the tree of life has 10 spheres. That means Yud, divine thought, encompasses and unites and resolves everything. We have to go to the Yud above. Now, the secret of the Vav is in the conjugal union. Why? Because we Kabbalists know that the Vav represents the male genital organ, which is the connector between the two opposites. What are the two opposites? Male and female. One is salient, the other is hollow. What unites male and female? The male genital organ. That is the Vav. So, the way you use the Vav determines whether or not Yud comes down from above. All of these supreme thoughts are taken from the analysis of Hebrew letters. For each Hebrew letter, we could talk for some time. Now, the Zohar continues with a commentary about what we talked about earlier. Yaakov wrestled the angel, and the angel hit him where? On his right thigh. His right thigh. And Yaakov, once wounded on his right thigh, overcame the angel, but was wounded. And what happened to Yaakov after the struggle? Would you like to know? He lost prophecy, the gift of prophecy. When did he recover it, this gift of prophecy? When he was reunited with his son Yosef. And there we learned that the right thigh represents in the tree of life the Sephirah Netzah, the Sephirah on the lower right. That is what the right thigh represents. Who is the king of prophecy? Who is the greatest prophet in all Judaism? Moshe Rabbeinu. What is the Sephirah that characterizes him? The Sephirah Netzah. In other words, if we know how to connect to the Sephirah Netzah, we can connect to the gift of prophecy. If we do not connect to the Sephirah Netzach, we lose the gift of prophecy. At the anatomical level, Netzach is related to the sciatic nerve. Zohar gives in Genesis an explanation that God says, "Let there be light, let there be light." Then it says, "And there was light." Here is another code, another secret. What does it mean, let there be light? It's the connection with the soul. And there was light. That's the connection with the body. Those two lights, the soul and body, are what created man in God's image. So, if man was created in God's image, and man has a soul and body, what is the body of God? The Creator does not have a body. Or does he? His creation? No. Does God have a body or not? No. He does not. On that we all agree. But the symbol of God's body is the astral world. That is, all the astral intelligences are channels through which the divine soul travels. And that could be said in an archetype that would be in the symbology of the divine body. So, as we have a soul and a body, the Creator has universal intelligence, the mother of all intelligences, which is united. And this intelligence travels through all astral bodies until reaching Earth. But he does not have an image. He does not have a body. He does not have a body like us. It's not like that at all. So, the active light is that of the soul, and the passive light is that of the body. When the soul is asleep, our body is working on automatic pilot. in accordance with astral karma. In other words, when the soul lights up,
Ein mazal Israel.
there is no way for any star to control us. How does the soul light up? The soul lights up by meditation on the names of God. That is how it lights up. Let's stop here. Later, we'll do the meditation. Can the body of God be said to be Elohim? Elohim is nature. Yes, nature is all astral doorways, but it is an archetype, not a physical language. In natural, when we speak of that, that is what it means? Yes, that's what it means, Elohim. But Adam had a great body. So there are souls that come from the soul of the head of Adam. Other souls that come from the soul of Adam's heart. Other souls that come from the soul of Adam's hands. Others from the liver of Adam. Others from the bladder. Others the stomach. They all come from Adam because it was a single soul that God created. That soul shattered and became sparks of soul. Therefore, every spark of soul comes from a different part of the soul that illuminated the body of Adam. And we are not all from the same part of Adam's body. Do you understand? One must know how to answer that question. And there are souls that separated from Adam before the fall of Adam. And they are not infected by what we wrongly call the original sin, because they separated from Adam before the fall. They are the souls of the patriarchs, souls that never, neither in
Gan Eden.
nor on earth, were ever wrong.
What's the equivalence between the Yud Vav Yud that is formed by the letter Aleph and the Yud Ke Vav Ke?
The letter encompasses everything. Because, look, for now, there is a mathematical or gematria correspondence. Yud Vav Yud equals 26, and Yud He Vav He also equals 26. So, two words, or one letter and a word, with the same gematria value, means you can substitute one with the other. That is, you don't mind whether it's Yud Vav Yud, as you would to say Yud He Vav He. It's the same thing. You can switch one with the other. And as Yud He Vav He is man. Is Yud He Vav He man? Yes. Yes? How? He, Yud, Vav He. That's why we're made in the image of the divine name. I have a question about what you said. Are the patriarchs souls prior to Adam's sin? Why do I ask? It's written in a verse that there is no man, Adam, the Pasuk says Adam, who only does good and doesn't sin. In the definition of Adam from the Tanakh, it says he's a person who by essence will sin. And for example, Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest of all our prophets, also sinned in a way we may not understand when he struck the stone, which is why he was punished and could not enter Eretz Israel. So I've never heard of the possibility of there being a soul or someone who has been incarnated that has no contact with sin. That is something that is disproven in the Tanakh itself, or the Torah. Your question is poorly formulated. Let me reformulate it for you. Why is it necessary for man to sin? It's not that it's necessary, it's in his essence. Why does he need to sin? Why does he have a sinning essence? Why does he need to sin? It's a good question. Why didn't God make a being that did not sin? In this world, the way this world is made, sin, first we have to define what sin is. Sin is a short circuit with cosmic laws. If you want, you can record this. Oh, you're already recording? Now, you've surprised me. Here I was, so relaxed. Well, that's all the better. The body. I already explained this to you on Shabbat. God created this world. Because it was a necessary demonstration. And he created man because it was a necessary demonstration. What I will tell you now is so deep, it may short-circuit your rational thinking. So, pay close attention to what I'm about to tell you. Our Creator is an infinite being and an omnipotent being. What does this mean? If he's infinite and he's omnipotent, he has a defect. And what is it? That he can't limit himself. That he cannot be limited. I've already told you this. He cannot be limited. He has the shortcoming of not being defective, flawed. He can do anything but be flawed. Therefore, he's not infinite. He's nearly infinite because he's lacking the capacity to be flawed. And so, he created man and placed an infinite soul inside a finite body and created him in his image, with the difference that his body will make him finite, will make him finish in a way, will make him a sinner, however you want to call it. Now, if from that finite sinning being, infinity does not come forth, perfection does not come forth, he has not demonstrated anything. But if from this being, a sinner, with a finite body, with a body that can and does fail, Adam fails, Cain fails, Esav, all failed. Many beings have failed. But if from a failing being, the infinite light can shine, it calls the teshuvah, that is, a return to the origins. What does that teshuvah demonstrate? That God is infinite, that through man he can be infinite, but from that finity, infinity comes forth, and he has shown that he has no shortcomings. That is, he is infinite, he is also finite, and he returns to the infinite. The problem is, if he does not return to the infinite and remains in the finite, then there's a problem. But then that shows that for Abraham to be tested, he had to come after the sin. If not, there would be no test. What you're saying now is proof of what I'm saying, that it's true. It cannot be that Abraham was from a phase in which God arrived at a practically infinite sinless body, but then he would have no proof, no test. For that to be possible, there would have to be a finite sinning body that must be capable of reaching what Abraham reached, like Moshe, for example. Moshe is indeed proof of this. My master told me that if we had to withstand even one 1,000th of one of the 10 tests of Avraham Avinu, we would rather jump off a cliff. We would not be able to bear it. The strength of Avraham Avinu's soul, the first patriarch, the strength of his soul, we have no idea what it is. Now, I'll tell you something that sounds like science fiction. The tomb of Abraham is Stanisla. And previously, it had been 3 meters underground. And anyone who approached the tomb of Abraham, something catastrophic happened to them. They lost an eye, they lost an arm, they lost whatever. They got sick, they died. It had such energy that whoever approached Abraham's tomb experienced their tikkun right then. Their karma was instantly received. Its divine energy was so great. So what did they do? They exhumed the tomb and reinterred him 100 meters
deeper,
for there to be more distance between visitors and the tomb, and no more catastrophes like that. So imagine, a man from over 3,000 years ago, 4,000 some years ago, and it's a man whose energy can still influence a human being that approaches his tomb. It's a divine energy we cannot understand. Abraham was not a being like you and me. We cannot withstand anything. He was perfect because he could withstand those tests. He had no defects, no flaws. They threw him into a burning furnace, and he emerged unscathed. How can a human being do that? From a burning furnace, how is it possible? It was possible because of one single thought he had. That is, if there is a single creator, and I am aware of that creator, and I am the only guardian of that awareness, I cannot die. And he did not die. Only because of that thought. It's very beautiful. Well, let's do the meditation now. If a woman is in her menstruation, she does not have to meditate. The 2 alphabets. In the Hebrew alphabet, we have the name He, Kuf, Mem. This name makes karma, the tikkun, rise to the level of unity, of Atzilut. And there, the dualities are resolved, as it is a world of unity. And to give it more power, an amplifier, a home cinema amplifier of thought, the same letters, He, Kuf, Mem, in the celestial alphabet, that of Metatron. I can assure you that this alphabet is genuine, real, and it works. Albert, can this only be done with the upper ones? We'll meditate on the upper ones, but you, with your eyes, can look at the lower ones. You don't have to meditate on the lower ones. Their power is so great, all you have to do is look at them. In fact, you're already looking at them. So, now, put your feet in parallel on the floor. Place your hands facing up. Straighten your knees. Straighten your back. Straighten your neck. First, let's relax with 3 deep breaths. Exhaling deeply. When we inhale, we hold the air for 2 or 3 seconds, then we exhale. Let's begin. We breathe in positive energy. We exhale stress, worries, any type of pain. We exhale. We breathe in spiritual energy. We exhale all negativity. again. Now we envision ourselves inside a golden star of David, the size of this room. We see like a column of white light. It's our greater selves. Before us, another golden star of David that is like a screen. Inside its hexagon, we will place 3 letters. The letter He, we light it as if it had a wick. The letter Kuf and the letter Mem. We now have the 3 letters, all of them lit. If you want, you may look for a moment at the letters of the celestial alphabet. Now we bring together the flames of the letter He with the flame of the letter Kuf and the flame of the letter Mem into a single flame. These 3 letters elevate the karma of humankind to the level of Atzilut, the world of emanation, where all is unity, all is Ahava, love. There's no conflict in that world. We resolve dual conflicts into a single loving unity. And that single loving unity, we will absorb it into our souls, because those lights of He, Kuf, Mem will now draw them to our Star of David. They emanate from the Star of David, where they originate, and now they will enter the upper point of our Star of David, penetrating our skulls, illuminating our brain, going down to our heart, lighting up our heart, descending to the liver, illuminating the liver. And now we have the brain, heart, and liver all illuminated, all 3. We will keep that light inside us. We will form a chorus with the earth in the middle. And 3 beams of light will project from the brain, heart, and liver of all of us toward the earth, fusing these 3 beams into a single violet beam of light that we project toward humankind in the form of unity, with the karma now resolved, preventing conflicts of duality. And so we protect the world from a possible war. And we watch as the troops fall back, and how they have now found a solution that is loving and unifying among the countries that once were antagonists, and now we see each one returning home in peace, preventing great pain. And they have realized that by uniting their strengths, they gain more than if they attempt to destroy each other. Now, the angel Metatron descends and stands in the midst of our chorus. He picks up the letters from his own alphabet. He meditates on them himself, and he reprojects them toward earth. And he makes us his allies. And so, we are the protectors of this humankind. And now, we take 3 deep breaths. Again and again. And we open our eyes. Well, I saw the troops on the front lines of the war turn around and say, "Oh, let's go home." They turned around and went home. If that's the way it is, let's just go home. And instead of advancing, they went home. Both sides. They turned around. They said, "We're not playing. Let's not play. Let's go home." The living will see their homes. Instead of fighting, they go home and watch TV. And anything with Metatron? Yes, with the angel Metatron, I received a very repetitive message. You are protectors of humanity. Very repetitive. He said it last time and the time before. You are protectors of humanity with me. Well, let's end the class here.